All right, guys, welcome to the live. Go to coreteamhawaii.com for all your real estate needs right here. We're considering a brand refresh. Let me know. Next week we'll show you the logos. Let me know what you guys think about Core Team Hawaii in blue versus dark red. Let me know what you guys think about that. We're considering a brand refresh. We actually just spent some time talking about it, and yeah, we shall see. We shall see how that goes. So go to coreteamhawaii.com, go to the bottom of the website here, fill out this contact form at the bottom. That's our favorite way, the way it flows to our website. And today I'm going to talk about are you overpaying for a home? Shout outs to our client Scott, our new client Scott, myself, who else? Teresa and Sean. I have this conversation commonly, and I'll probably be making a video about it again soon. Because what is overpaying? I talk to other agents who I really, the few agents who I kind of respect and like to have conversations with and bounce ideas off of, take advice from at times. Um, my wife and I are buying, so we're looking to buy a bigger home. We live in a really small house. We've been living very minimally and underneath our means for a while, and so the concept of overpaying, and then every buyer we have, right? It's like, can we get it for cheaper? And that's how we should think, right? And when we're helping people sell, it's how should we price it? Because if we price too high, people are going to go for our throats, and there's a lot that goes into it. Do you have a lot of time when we're listing your home? Do you have a unique property that is just a unique gem, and uh, you could care less if you sold it for the next year? And we'll see how these tariffs work out. We'll see how the treasury rate goes. We'll see how interest rates go. And you want to overprice it and be realistic over a long amount of time. That's different than overpricing a home that is a commodity. If if you're a buyer and that one is unrealistic, I'll just wait for the next one because there's 100 of these in this townhome community. If you're a seller and you don't sell, well, guess what? There's 100 of these in this townhome community, and another one's going to pop up eventually. So approaching different situations as a buyer and as a seller, there's a lot of nuance that goes into it. So let's talk about me and talk about why we're making this video. I am buying a home right now. The offer that I just wrote and submitted last night is overpaying. I mean, you just look at the comps. It's too much. It's overpaying, but it's more of a unique home in which they've shown for months and months that we don't have a reason, like we don't need to sell. And in fact, one of the parties, probably it's inconvenient for them to sell immediately. And so more time would be better for one of the parties involved. And so I just wrote an offer that if you just showed me the house, it had no price on it. You say, Derek, check out this house, do an analysis, tell me what you think it would sell for. No, there's no price. Oh, thanks. There's no price on it. Just what do you think it would sell for? I would not say the number that I just wrote the offer for. I would say a number below. But why am I paying that? We just had some clients buy a home and they actually paid, I think 20 or 30, 25,000 over appraised value, but they're totally sound in that decision. They know that we're not going to pressure them into paying 25,000 over, but they're like, no, we're sound in this decision. We've done this multiple times. We own multiple homes. We're good. We've also had a seller recently who wants to sell their home closer to 1.7 million. But then the problem is there's a similar home that just went into a contract around 1.3 million. And so that's too big of a delta. Like, we got to get closer. This pricing conversation sometimes can be a real simple one. Again, you live in a townhome community, it's commodified. These things sell every month. It's not a lot of guesswork. They can also be extremely nuanced, and you never know what's going to happen. So should you overpay for a home? why is Derek overpaying for a home? And how should you price your home? Let's answer those three questions. So should you pay? Why is there, or should you overpay? Ken, so you can remind me if I get off track. Should you overpay? Why is Derek overpaying? And how should you price your home if you were selling? So how to write your offer should you overpay? What is overpaying, right? If you get the home that you want and you keep it for 10 years in Hawaii, will it really have mattered 10 years prior if you paid 1.5 million versus 1.6? Now, 100 grand in equity is 100 grand in equity. Don't get me wrong, but if you paid 2 million versus 2.1, 800 versus 880 or whatever the case may be, if that there's something unique about this one, something unique. Now, will you have cared 10 years later? Well, if you run 5% appreciation over a decade, your home's going to be worth so much more that it probably will not have mattered. And you have spent a decade in the home that you really, really like. And so that's more of why I overpaid. The home that I just wrote an offer on, I think is probably the comps say more 1.35. I wrote an offer over 1.4 for it. It's my wife and I like it to some reasonable extent. Now we're not going to go pay 1.6 million for it. That's asinine. But to some extent, my wife and I are willing to shoot in front of the target. You guys ever either hunt or play one of those games? So the deer's running, the train's moving. If you got to shoot in front of it a little bit, right? But the good news is also, even though I feel like I'm overpaying today, and 6 months, a year, 2 years, at some point, I'm going to feel like it doesn't matter what I paid because I got it sooner and now it's worth more. So that's why, should you overpay? It depends on what you're buying. If you're buying, all right, let me pull out the maps. If you are buying, pick a neighborhood in the comment section. Hopefully you picked Kunia. If you are buying, where's Walmart? Wait. Where's this road, Kunia? Why am I tripping out, bro? Where's Walmart? Oh, Walmart's right there. Okay. I'm going to drop my guy here on the map. If you're buying something in this townhome community where there's 100 of the exact same thing, common parking, etc., then no, don't overpay. Let's wait. If there's an unrealistic seller who's at 685, shout out to Scott, and we know the home is worth tens of thousands less than that, don't overpay. There's nothing that unique in this townhome. Now, once you get to single family and forever homes, maybe, but there's nothing that unique in this townhome community that tells you like you should be overpaying 40, 50, 60 grand, 10%. There's nothing that unique. Now, overpaying, right? That's what's the word I'm looking for, Ken? That's subjective. There's different people can define what overpaying is in different ways, right? So if a Rolex right now, market price is 50 grand, but there's just no more of them left. I'm not into the private watch, like the collector watch thing, but I have a friend who is. The market price is 50 grand. They made 10,000 of them. They sold for 50 grand, but there's no more left. You can't get one. Your Rolex broker can't get you one, and you pay 80 for it. If you really like that Rolex, and then that Rolex were to become worth 100 grand a couple years later, but you got to enjoy it for the 24-month interim, is paying 80 grand overpaying? Only you can define that. Now let's go to pick a more luxury neighborhood. Hopefully you picked Portlock. Look, of course there's big walls and it's not the best. It's not the best area to show. Um, but look at this, just from the front gate. You already know, right? Look at the front gate. If that home back there, I'm gonna go back to the satellite view. If this home here, they're asking for 8 million, but comps say 7.5. But you want it, and you're gonna be in it for a long time. And there's real data to show that even though comps show 7.5 right now, and 7.5 makes sense, and even there's an appraisal for 7.5, but you have the ability to buy it for 8 million, your family really wants it at 8 million, it's important to you, and you're going to hold it for a decade, is paying 8 million overpaying? It's a subjective thing. So should you overpay? As with much of our advice, it depends. At some point, overpaying may not be overpaying, and that's based on your hold time, the uniqueness of the property, and how much it's going to affect your quality of life. Why is Derek overpaying? Well, I kind of answered that question in the first one. I wrote an offer that is probably 80,000 above what I would like to get it at. But for this home, we're willing to do it, and it'll reasonably affect our quality of life. And I think that by the time we were to ever sell it, because it'd be a decade later or so, it'd be worth more. And it will have not mattered that much. Now, am I willing? Do I have my limits? Yes, I have my limits. You can't overpay that much. Like, I'm not buying the Mona Lisa here. I'm not buying the Sistine Chapel of homes. We're just buying a little bit better home. So we're willing to overpay to some degree. Now, am I really actually overpaying 80 grand? That's subjective too, right? Like, if appraiser could appraise it at 135, they could appraise it at 138. It just depends. But am I overpaying? Yes, I'm probably overpaying what the comps say today. I'm shooting in front of the deer. I'm shooting in front of the train. For my situation in Hawaii and my whole time, I'm willing to do that. What was my third thing? That's why. How to price a home. Okay. So I kind of alluded to that in the opening monologue as well. Here, I'm going to get your guys' comments up. Leave me your questions, comments, because I'm just going to finish this last question and then get into your questions and comments, and then we're going to jump off. Go to our live here. How come I don't see it, Kenj? Okay. Well, I don't see it, but I'm also logged into. Yeah. I'll let Aiden help me out. How should you price your home? And depending on interest rates, depending on the market, thanks. Depending on interest rates, depending on the market, our answer to that question is different for every property. If you have more of a commodity and things are we just did an analysis for our client, Stefan. And for their property, there's competition. There's past sale history of identical things. There's only 2 types of townhomes in this community. So there's past history, there's past data that's clear. We can get real clear on math and nuance and analyzing it. And then there's, of the 2 types of townhomes in this community, there's one of each being sold right now. Well, it's actually not being sold, it's listed, and they're listed too high. And so we can be pretty clear on our suggestion. If you price here, we're likely to sit and find ourselves somewhere on a slope downwards. And, if we price here, we're likely to sell, mitigate your holding costs, mitigate your burn of having a vacant home with no tenants in it and nobody living in it and just paying a mortgage for no good reason, and make a really educated decision. It's more of a commodity. And you probably don't want to overprice that home. Now, here's the thing. Real estate agents, we go to all these trainings and we have all these scripts and all these things. We train. It's an unfair fight. Like, we know Muay Thai, you don't. We know Jiu-Jitsu, you don't. We have all this training on why to tell you to price your home low. The problem is, I saw a fairly unique property listed last year that I felt should have went for 1.3 million. It only sold for 1.2 million because they underlisted it, they undersold it, and that family could have made probably 100 grand more, man. Are there times to underlist your home? Yes, there are times to get cute, as I like to say. And sometimes when you have this perfect cul-de-sac home that just got renovated, it's got the perfect blues and green grass, and uh, everything about it is nice, and we're going to get a bunch of competition. It's a unique piece of property in a desirable neighborhood with a good elementary and not a lot of inventory, no other competition. Sometimes you underlist that home a little bit because you want to create this feeding frenzy, and we're helping you buy. Sometimes we tell you that listing price, ignore it, pay attention to our advice. Although the home I'm thinking about, I lost out on because I didn't take Aiden's advice and my own advice that I've trained him on. I wanted a deal and I lost the home. But that home, sometime as your listing agent, will list low to intentionally manufacture a sense of FOMO, sense of scarcity. We list it early in the week and we do no showings to build a dam of attention. We do no showings until the open house. And on Sunday, we make sure it's a crowded open house. If I'm afraid it's not going to be crowded, I might invite Kenji's cousins and Aiden's neighbors to come make this thing really crowded so that the buyers who are considering buying it have this sense of FOMO. They're like, oh, bro, I better come in strong. And then we end up selling for much over our list price. That can really shoot you in the foot when you have something that is unlikely to sell quick because it smells like dog, hasn't been renovated since 1970, and there's not really in no crazy of a neighborhood where anyone really wants to be in. It's on a main street. So even though someone might want to buy in this neighborhood, they don't want that road noise. They don't want to hear that Harley going by. You underlist that property by too much, it may not sell. I mean, it's not going to sell right away. It's strong. The probability of it selling first weekend is lower. So now you're sitting at a price that you never wanted to sell at in the first place. Now you don't want to overlist that home because it's already going to have a hard time selling. It's already a less desirable piece. So you really got to hit the sweet spot on that home. You really got to think, what do I want to net? What can I realistically expect to net in this market with this type of home? How many buyers are VA with no money down and are coming for credits, are coming for 2-1 buy downs, coming for home inspection credits, et cetera? Where do I actually expect to land? But where realistically can I expect to start, And then there's the overpricing. Should you overprice? Now, this is the thing. Us agents, we're more trained than you and explaining this and getting you to agree to list at a either more market or below market price. This is what we do. But sometimes sellers just have to know. They're just like, I understand, Derek, and I accept your skill and your past performance history, and that's why we called you. And that's why we went to coreteamhawaii.com, scrolled to the bottom of the website here, and that's why we got in contact with you. But I know you're saying to list at 1.1, but I just have to list at 1.2. I gotta know. I know that you may not say it makes a big difference, Derek, but those houses, the sun, the other house in the tree blocked the sun. My house, bro, the sun comes in. I get good sunlight, and their neighbors, I know they sold for 1.1. Their neighbors junk, bro. My neighbors, good barbecues. All these things that don't tend to show up in the MLS and an appraisal and just in a buyer's opinion and don't really matter. But to you, you're like, I raised my kids here, bro. The energy in here. One, Derek, are you a Sagittarius or are you Gemini? Like what? I just have to feel 1.2. Well, I've seen homes go for more than I think they should have. I tell this story, but our clients, Ben and Roma, they knew they were overpaying at the time. And it was over many months that they came to the conclusion. We wrote the first offer. We negotiated over months. We left that house, forgot about it, went and looked at other things. We may have written another offer. They circled back to the home and said, look, all right, we're there. Let's give them. It was still under. We still negotiated under list, but let's give them where we were on our last negotiation point. Let's just give it to them. We know we're overpaying, but this home uniquely works for our family. We'll take it. Now, what did that seller have to endure to get there? Well, that seller had been on and off of the market at least 3 times over the course of 4 or 5 years. They own the home free and clear. They're pretty wealthy, so they didn't really care if it sold or not, but they were committed to a certain number. Now, when they first came to the market at that number, and I don't know, I don't even know the exact history, but let's say they came to the market in 2020, 2021 at that number. Well, nothing. Take it off, rent it for a year, come back to the market in 2022. Didn't sell it anywhere close. They're just out of their minds. Take it off the market, come back to the market in 2024. Well, eventually our buyers, we told them, you're overpaying. You sure you want to do this? Yeah, Derek, it's not overpaying to us. I mean, we know we're overpaying, but we want it. It'll eventually be worth that. It uniquely works for us. My parents are moving in. There's that extra space. We have the cash to fix it up. As we buy it overpriced and then fix it up, it's going to be, an even bigger total net price tag for the home, but we just want it. Did it make sense for them? Yeah. I saw them at Christmas. Thanks for the beef sticks. And their neighbors were over, they're barbecuing. They're just talking about how much they love the home. They love the neighbors, love the neighborhood. They're happy. It made sense for them, right? So back to the point. What did the seller have to endure? Well, that seller had to endure 3, 4, 5 years of not selling. And in the end, did they do any better? Like if they could have sold for 1.3 a few years ago, cashed out, put that money in even 5% high yield savings account or multiple what is $1 million at 5% would be 50. So a little bit more, call it 60 over 3 years, 180. They could have sold for 3 years ago and it just been just as fine, but they were committed to their number. And hey, it's America. They own the property. They do whatever they want. Not mad at them. They eventually got a price that even the our neighbors, our friends, Tolba's Roofing, shout out to Tolba's Roofing, our go-to roofing contractor. They're like, I can't believe your clients paid that. And it's like, yeah, we told them they didn't have to, but they also love the home. And guess what? Today, I don't know. They could probably sell it for what they bought it for. I'd have to go look. But they're not selling it anytime soon. And I know that if not now, then in the near future, they could sell it for what they bought it for and more. So they're stoked. But the seller had to endure a lot of not selling. This one that I'm writing an offer on has been on the market for months and months and months. Before any seller any buyer like myself getting to the number I just wrote for them last night, it took months and months and months. And so when do you need to sell? What are you selling? What's your propensity and appetite for staying on the market for months and months at a time with offers that are going to insult you because they're actually probably where the agent said the offers would come in at, but it'd be insulting to you because you have a higher opinion of your home. Like, are you willing to do that? Do you want that smoke? Do you want to endure that? And then in that process, how's our relationship going to be? Are you going to, try and hang us at the stake because we're not selling for 1.6 when we told you it was worth 1.3? Or are we just you had to know, you had to find out, and you're willing to make price improvements and get closer to the market as you reach your deadline of time in which you have to sell? How much are you burning in those months in between? Is your mortgage $8,000 a month? Are you free and clear so it doesn't really hurt? Are we shooting ourselves in the foot and doing something that makes no mathematical sense and sitting on the market for 10 months at an $8,000 mortgage and burning, $80,000 minus principal payment just to sell for $40,000 more? Like, I'm going to try my best to coach you to not to do that because that doesn't make sense. The math doesn't math. Or does it not make a big difference to you? All you're paying is property taxes and some insurance. So I'm going through this. The reason why I wanted to do this one, Mahi's on vacation. Sometimes it's good to do a little monologue and rant, and I just wrote an offer for myself last night. We've done multiple analyses. I feel like Aiden and I, right after this, are going to go and do um, go to the Marco Polo building and talk about pricing another sale. Just Aiden just grabbed this phone that you see and took a call for another Waikiki sale, which is another Makaha sale. I just wrote my offer, underwrote Makakilo, a sell and a buy last night. I can't even. I need notes. We have so much activity and so many market analyses going on right now. And moral of the story: overpaying is a subjective thing. But this, generally speaking, this overpay, do it on unique, long-term holds, forever properties. Do it, and to a reasonable extent, and move on as long as you can handle that. A more commodified, basic property that's a 1 in 100, don't do it, because some of these properties that we've underwritten recently, they're worth the same now as they were worth 10 years ago. Don't do it for those properties. Now, can you say, well, I would have been renting anyways and I paid down some principal and now I have some equity and so I'm fine, I'll overpay? Maybe, but we're gonna call it out for you and say, hey John, hey Jane, hey Kavika, hey Kanoi, Lani, we think you're overpaying for this one. We think that the market would be right about here. Are you sure you're willing to appease these sellers and give them this? It's going to be your choice, but we're warning you. And if it's your choice, it's your choice. And fact of the matter is, most people who don't wait to buy real estate, but buy real estate and wait, most people that jump in that river and flow with the real estate market rather than try and run alongside of it by saving and renting and saving and renting, most people that are in the market are happy for having done it. That's an overgeneralized statement, but buying real estate and waiting has made the most millionaires in the country, and it's not even debatable. So just a little rant. Let me see what questions we got. Nav Bars, greetings from Las Vegas. Shout outs to the 9th Island. Kinoko. What is that, Ken? Kinoko-chan. That's a female, right? Probably, yeah. Kinoko-chan, aloha. Ayo, 1245. Shaka's local kind guy. What's the likelihood you'll get this home you've offered on? I don't know. I hope that we get it. Like, we want it. We also have our limits of overpaying it. I already, as an agent, like when I bought my home, I got a good deal. I had an even better deal. I've told this story before. I passed up a great deal that I wanted to give it to my clients because they wanted it. Now, might I have been a little scared too back then? Yeah, but nonetheless, it was a great deal, and I gave it to my clients. I found a good deal for myself. When I bought my investment in Ko'olina, it was a good deal. I've seen some other great deals come across our table. One, our former agent, her mom bought it. I expect at least a good deal, especially as an agent of, my level. I want to wait for good deals. But will I get this one? I don't know. We'll see. You'll know on this channel if I did. I'll tell you guys. Catherine Hose or Jose, probably Hose. What specific things about your property make it worth paying more besides location, rim lot, etc.? Well, it's not a rim lot. I wish it was. The location's good. It's just, I think it's just lack of inventory. And I think that in the spring and summer, there's going to be more. Well, in fact, I know I can pull the data every single time in the spring and summer, there's more inventory. And so since I am pretty strong as a buyer, I might be smart for me to wait till the summer. But that's the unknowing that us buyers have to go through, right? Is if we wait, will it be better? There's a decent chance I find a home we like even more. And here's the thing, it could cost more, right? It could cost more, but I'd rather pay I'd rather pay $10 for something that's worth $9 than $5 for something that's worth $1. Does that make sense? So let's apply it to a home. I'd rather than pay, 1.4 million for something that's worth 1.3 million, assuming I can be pre-approved and I qualify, I'd rather pay 1.7 million for something that's worth 1.6, right? So you rather get the better deal, even if it costs more. So might I find that situation? Yeah, I might. And maybe we wait. And that's why we have our limits to how much we're willing to overpay. I have, like, my wife and I we'll appease the seller, give them a little more, try and show mutual respect and give them a little more, but we have our limits because I know the probabilities. I know the market data that in the spring, well into the spring and into the summer, we might just do better. So glad I caught your podcast, and your subject line is perfect timing from my end. Shout outs to Robert. Thank you. I, oh, where? When does buying a leasehold make sense? Almost never. Seems like fee simple is almost always the way to go. Yeah. So leasehold and fee simple. Leasehold. All right. I'm closing my computer. Can you see it? All right. So leasehold, you don't own the land, but you own the structure. You own the building, whether that be 1/100th because there's 100, condo units, or an actual house that's on a piece of leasehold land. Leasehold, you own the four walls, but not the patch of land. Fee simple is what you always think of real estate. You own the proportionate interest in the land or the whole land if it's a single family, and you own the house. When should you buy a leasehold? Almost never. It's a depreciating asset. It gets lower in value, like your car, like a trailer would, because typically trailers don't appreciate, mobile homes. So almost never. The only reasons I would buy a leasehold is somehow I found a situation where it cash flows crazy. Now, on the mainland, you don't really see leasehold in residential very often. You see it in commercial, right? So you see this big building, like someone owns the land and then someone owns the building and then rents out the apartments and offices and stuff. But if it cash flows crazy, then I'll buy it. So like if something's going to cost $1 million, but then somehow it cash flows $100,000 a month, bro, I'm buying that thing. But because think about in that scenario, million, $100,000 a month, 10 months, I get my money back, right? That's an insane rate of return. And you just will never find that. So since you'll never find that, almost never, I only buy it if I'm old and I want to secure something. So say I'm close to end of life, I'm 70, I'm doing really well. I want a place in town in the city in Honolulu. I want a place in town that I can kind of own, occupy, and because I want more walkability. I want to get more steps. I want to have a little bit more of that lifestyle, but I can't really afford, nor do I want to afford this more opulent condo. So I buy a leasehold. I don't have to do these 90-day or 1 year rentals. I can, for the next until I die, because the lease is for 40 years and I'm 70. So let's be realistic, right? I have my condo. I control it. And I'm not as concerned for this play about leaving wealth for my family or for a nonprofit that I believe in or my church. I just want to control some real estate in town that I can have a nice walkable life. I buy a leasehold then. Other than that, I pretty much almost never buy it. Why can in-house lenders offer better interest rates? Example, DHI. Puffkin, I hope you're working with us to pursue DHI, but they just can. They cut out some waste. There's no middleman. So, and they're sort of like subsidized, right? So it's like, why can the government offer lower cost housing to whomever they want or whatever? It's like taxpayers are paying for it. Well, when DHI is moving things at these unique interest rates, like they have these red tag specials that are the homes that didn't sell and they want to get them off the books. Well, with DHI both being the builder and owning the lending, they have an overall balance sheet with all their different profit and loss statements. And so if they break even on the loan or don't really make money on the loan, but they're able to move sitting inventory, because I imagine you build a house that's supposed to sell for $1 million, but it doesn't. you've paid electricians and masons, roofer, you paid all these people and probably acquired debt to build the home. And on that balance sheet for the building side of DR Horton, that home sitting, just the debt accruing on the build is worth X. They've done sophisticated calculations to say our holding cost on this home is $5,000 a month. So then if it sits for 10 months, that's 50 grand, right? That's their holding cost. It's true. Like you know how like people don't think of gas as an expense because you just like put it and you don't think about how much you're spending. But if you actually do math, it costs you money every time you start the car. Well, the home sitting costs DR Horton money and they want to get that off their books. It's more business finance thinking, right? And so if we break even on the mortgage side or even take a little hit on the mortgage side, maybe to our sophisticated corporate accountant, that's good. We need to take a little loss on the mortgage side. And now we cut our losses on that one home that didn't sell. But for the 10 others that did sell, we made $5 million in profit. And so it just works out. There's many reasons why DHI can beat local lenders. And oftentimes the builder's lender, especially if the builder owns the lending, can do better. Other than that, local lender is usually going to smash everyone. Is there any site or tool a non-agent can use to search for properties which offer VA assumable loans? For our clients who are interested in that, we try to keep a running list. I actually have one in Eva. I have a couple like in my world and one that I know that's coming soon. Typically, I'm going to bring up, I think I'm going to wrap it up here. I hear my team going over all the escrows out there. I need to jump out with them. So I'm going to show you the map and show you what we found historically and where we find them. There's no metric on our search tools that, there's no tab for VA assumption. Well, the people uploading the properties can't put VA assumption. It's a keyword in the description. So what we do is we search our buy site. So you can go to coreteamhawaii.com, we'll get buying, and we search for things that are marketing VA assumption. The other thing, such as a property I was considering buying recently, they didn't market that it was a VA assumption, but we looked at tax record. I looked at tax record, I saw that they bought VA. And I contacted the agent. I said, would your seller be willing to do an assumption? And she said, yeah, probably. We're just not marketing it because there's a pretty big gap and it takes a while. So we're just not marketing it, but it's not selling. So we consider VA assumption. Some properties aren't marketed as VA assumption, but are assumable. So that short answer is no, there's no definite way to just sort by VA assumption. For our people who are really serious about it, we kind of do that for them. What you'll find on this island of Oahu, and I know this is moving to Hawaii as a state, but what you'll find on this island is that most VA assumptions happen in Ewa, Kapolei, to include Makakilo, Ewa, Kapolei, and then next might be Mililani, maybe into like Kunia, the upper Waipahu areas, and then in town. So why is it these places? We're kind of starting from least expensive but high amount of military. Ewa, Kapolei, then go to Mililani, and then buildings in town, condos throughout Salt Lake and town. And then you find less of them where some people often want to find them, which is Kaneohe, Kailua, Hawaii Kai. And the thing is what has the Ewa Beach market done over the last several years? So if you find someone who's willing to give their VA loan in an assumable transaction, the chances of there being a digestible gap is better in Ewa. If you go to Kailua, because of the appreciation, the cost of those homes, oftentimes the down payment that was required in order to get that home, you have these bigger cash gaps. So really quickly, what is that cash gap? So you're going to buy the home for $2 million, but say they've paid off $500,000. So now they owe 1.5. That's what you can assume. You can assume the 1.5. The 500,000, you need cash. So the ones on the east side and Hawaii Kai are few and far between. And then when they are there, they often have some $800,000 cash required to assume the rest of the loan. Like we see these things, right? Whereas in EVA couple A, sometimes we find one that maybe only require 10 grand, to assume the loan, and or maybe not much at all to assume the loan. So you see more of them here, and then the ones that you do see are more doable for more people here. I'm gonna look at a few of your comments if you have any more. Nope. All right, we're gonna wrap this one up. We'll see you guys on the next one. Aloha, guys. Go to coreteamhawaii.com. We have all these listing appointments coming up, buyers coming in. So get on with us. Go to the bottom of